Confusion and doubt. What really makes sense? The opportunity to raise consciousness or lower it. Which will it be? These are all pressures and questions for this cycle of the Human Design Weather for September 3rd to 9th, 2025. Hello, hello. I'm Margot Fraser, your guide through the cosmic energetic weather as a certified human design professional through the International Human Design School and an intuitive coach. I'm on a mission to help you live, love, and know the magic of your true nature. Well, at the time that you're seeing this, I should be just finishing up the first week of a 17-day canoe trip. So, yeah, this is all pre-recorded for you here, but let's delve into what's coming in for you this cycle. All right, this cycle begins on September 3rd at 9:07 a.m., going until September 9th at 4:20 a.m. Mountain Daylight Time. Universal Time coordinates, it's coming in September 3rd at 3:07 p.m., going until September 9th at 10:20 a.m. So remember to convert that to your own time zone so you know when it starts and ends for you. We start with the Sun Earth activations because that's 70% of the conditioning field. We are moving up to the head center, the top triangle in the body graph with its pressure to think this cycle. Both activations are part of the collective circuitry, which carries a theme of impersonal sharing. So these are relational. So let's delve into these traits of confusion and doubt. We have the Sun moving into gate 64. That's the trait of confusion, part of the collective, abstract, experiential circuitry with that theme of impersonal sharing. And here, the impersonal sharing of the wisdom of experience through the process of reflecting on the experiences to make sense of what happened. Through that process, we can have some real ahas that may lead to ideas and the formation of what we believe about something. No facts on this side of the circuitry. It's just based on experience. And then we articulate those out as our stories in gate 56 in the throat center. That's the pathway through the mental process. It all starts with confusion. Confusion brings a pressure to make sense of things. When we've just had an experience or taken something in mentally, it's all about trying to figure out where it fits in the movie of your life, what's of value, what's not. To move from confusion to getting the ahas, the realizations, takes time. It can be very difficult to determine what was the point of that. There can be surface level stuff that comes up faster, but the real depth really does take time. So, hence the keynote here transition, like birth, requires a determined strength for the passage through. Transition speaks to this process of going from confusion to realization. This is a trait that stores visual memory, but it's a jumble. Those memories aren't stored in order. So there's confusion. Out of the confusion in that making sense process, you can mentally explore many different things. Those are the stories in your head. The abstract circuitry generally is about what is it to be in this human experience of life? What is it about? The potential opportunities it brings. Well, out of any confusion that comes in, you may ask questions where others' responses could help you move through it. Or in just articulating the question or questions you have, it will start the process moving forward. You ever had that, where you've asked someone a question and then the realization comes for yourself? You may realize that the confusion is actually not something you need to put your attention on. It's actually not something that's of value to you. The caution here, it can be easy to go into mental anxiety out of the confusion. There could be a sense that you're never going to find the point. Or you may take hasty action when you think you have the point, but you actually don't. You jump too quickly, and then it just leads to more confusion. Gate 64 is being grounded in the Earth's position. Gate 63, the trait of doubt. This is collective logic with its theme of impersonal sharing of what one understands and the patterns and the formula to carry us into the future. This is really the starting place for the scientific mind. Your ability to investigate patterns and come up with new theories backed by the details and the facts. Why do we want to know about patterns? Because we humans love reliability and the stability that it brings. If I do A, B, and C, I'm going to get X result. All I need to do is follow the steps, follow the pattern. The thing about patterns is that they do change over time. There's no way that is the way forever. And if you're here listening to something from a human design perspective, you know it's all about individuating, living your unique design and bringing your unique perspective. So a pattern that works for some people may not work for you. That sense of something's not working here. It brings the doubt, it brings the suspicion, the pressure to look into it further. That's why we said that the head center brings inspiration. It can inspire this deeper investigation. As you follow this mental process into the ajna, your mental awareness center, your investigation may reveal that, oh, this pattern is actually a good one. Or, nope, I don't think it's working. And then the mind will start playing with potential answers in gate 4, forming a theory and an opinion in gate 17. And it's only an opinion at this point because the real life experimenting hasn't happened yet. This is like theoretical physics versus applied physics. This is just the theory at this point. So we don't know if it actually works for the majority of the collective at this point. And then in gate 62, that theory, that opinion can be expressed with all the details and facts in place. The keynote for this gate of doubt is in the spiral of life, all endings are beginnings. In other words, the end of one pattern is the start of another. It also gives us this tie-in to the abstract side of the circuitry, which is about cycles, beginnings, middles, and ends. So there is a weaving together as we go through experiences. We start to see patterns that then we can see, oh, does this work for everyone? So there's always kind of this movement between the abstract and the logic side of the chart. If you have this gate in your own design, it's really important that everything that you doubt, you investigate and prove to yourself whether it works or not. The potential opportunities this activation brings are to look at any plans you have and get a sense of whether they're going to work. You may find you're able to ask really good questions about anything that you do doubt. And this could really inspire someone else to get into their investigative process. The caution is that this pressure to doubt could end up being turned by the not self mind into self doubt. So watch that. When you doubt yourself, what happens? You stop trusting yourself. You stop trusting your own strategy and authority. You hand your power over to others. So watch that you're not taking what someone else says as fact if you haven't done your own fact checking. Also, others may ask questions or talk about what they're doubting, and you might feel like you have to come up with the answers and respond in some way. Remember that just because the pressure is there, the questions are there, doesn't mean that you have to do anything about it unless your own strategy and authority is giving you that yes. Expect increased suspicion and doubt to be expressed around you. Sometimes it'll be totally unfounded, and sometimes it'll be something that needs to be investigated. When we look at the Sun Earth positions together, well, confusion and doubt. It's going to mean a lot of anxiety at the collective level. Remember that most people in the world don't know about human design. They don't know about their strategy and authority. They're going to get caught up in the head and making decisions out of that. So expect that anxiety to be there. But if we understand confusion and doubt as simply aspects of making sense and of understanding, the questions these pressures bring can ultimately raise consciousness. However, if you're not going through your own process, using your own strategy and authority, investigating what's of value, taking that processing time, letting go of what's not of value, we can have the opposite, a lowering of consciousness, grabbing onto what someone else says as fact or their beliefs as your own. So do your best not to be afraid of these pressures of confusion and doubt. It seems kind of ominous when we say them because we have such a negative relationship that we've created as a society to no, 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 we don't want confusion. We don't want doubt, but they're so important to the process. So remember your decision-making process, your strategy and authority is not in your head, it's in your body. And then you can just allow what might come through these pressures to bring something new and just enjoy them without them running you. Let's move on to the channels now. When the transit field creates a channel, everyone that doesn't already have it in their chart is receiving activation of the related traits and qualities. We have two medium-term channels. First, September 3rd, coming in at 9:07 a.m., going till September 11th at 3:05 a.m. Mountain Daylight Time. UTC, that's coming in September 3rd at 3:07 p.m., going until September 11th at 9:05 a.m. Our sun's position, gate 64, has its electromagnetic present in the south node of the moon in gate 47. That's the trait of oppression and realization in the Ajna center. Together, they create the channel of abstraction, a design of mental activity mixed with clarity. It will actually be present beyond this cycle to the 11th because Mercury is going to be moving into 64 towards the end of this cycle. This is a collective abstract channel, bringing that mental pressure that we've been talking about to make sense, putting those puzzle pieces together to determine how an experience fits into the movie of your life. It is a difficult process. It does take time to get that clarity and those, which is why that gate 47 is called both oppression and realization. As its keynote says, it brings a busy mind and a reminder that any decisions that you make need to be from your strategy and authority, not from your mind. So expect a busy mind from this, and it may perhaps make it a little bit more difficult to stay grounded and connected to the wisdom of your body. At the same time, if you can stay aligned with your strategy and authority, there is this potential for increased awareness and the ability to share your ahas, your realizations with others when invited in a way that could support them. And you may gain from what comes through others, the realizations that they have as they express those. Next up, we have the channel of the brainwave, a design of awareness. It came in last cycle, and it's going to be with us until September 8th at 3:45 a.m. Mountain Daylight Time. That's 9:45 a.m. UTC. This is connecting gate 57, the trait of intuitive insight in the splenic center, with its electromagnetic gate 20, the trait of the now and contemplation in the throat center. It's the place where the intuitive insights that come through an acoustic knowing in the now from that gate 57 have access to the throat to be expressed through gate 20. The expression that can flow here is what you know in the now. You may get a sense through an acoustic knowing of truth and lies, what's safe and what's not, what's healthy for you and what's not, and be able to clearly articulate and express that. However, There can also be this blurting out of one's knowings without being invited, in which case it's likely to be to the wrong people at the wrong time and go unheard or just be considered weird. We have two channels that are being created by the transit of the moon. And these are just little tasters, little samplers, because the moon only activates a gate or a trait for about 10 to 11 hours, give or take. So I'll just run through these quickly. We have coming in on September 5th at 4:30 a.m., going until 11:30 a.m. Mountain Daylight Time, UTC, September 5th at 10:30 a.m., going until 5:30 p.m., the channel of the prodigal being created. This is a design of the witness. The moon's moving into gate 13, the trait of the listener. In the G center, the center associated with love, identity, and direction in life. It's connecting with Venus position, gate 33, the trait of retreat in the throat center. This is another channel that's part of the abstract experiential circuitry, all about sharing experiences. This is the G center, the identity center, expressing itself through the memories that you have from what you've taken in, what you've heard, what you've witnessed in your life. The opportunity is to process that wisdom, to reflect on your experiences, and after that reflection and the wisdom is gained, to really be able to articulate and express that out in a way that provides leadership. The caution is that some of these things that you've taken in may be secrets of others. So be a bit careful when this is present, as there can be a tendency to blurt those out and potentially regret that. Finally, we have coming in September 6th at 7:47 p.m., going until September 7th at 5:22 a.m. Mountain Daylight Time. UTC, that's starting September 7th at 1:47 a.m., going until 11:22 a.m. The moon moving into gate 37, the trait of friendship in the emotional solar plexus center. It's connecting with Mercury's position, gate 40, in the ego center. Together, they create the channel of community, a design of a part seeking a whole. Now, we had that last cycle. That was our Sun Earth positions. Very strong channel that came in. I gave a lot of information about it here, so I'll just do more of a summary for this. It's a tribal channel with an underlying theme of mutual support. The channel of community is also the channel of the marriage contract, of contracts in general, and bargains. So it brings the pressure to have fair bargains with others. Themes of loyalty and betrayal, coming together or jealousy, and a sense of belonging or not, whether within a family, a group, a community, or within the totality, will all be amplified with this channel present. And that brings us to our long-term transits. The long-term transits are created by the outer planets and the nodes of the moon. They're with us for longer periods of time, years in some cases. So your not self mind may start thinking that they're part of you, even when they're not in your own design. Then when the transit eventually moves on, that can create a lot of confusion for the not self mind. The only change we have from last cycle is Jupiter changing lines. The north node of the moon continues to be in gate 22, the individual trait of grace or disgrace, of attentive listening or not, and openness or closeness to social interaction. It's in line 2, called Charm School, and brings an environment where we may see this real attentiveness to each other and openness to socializing, although the substance of the talk may be more superficial. At the same time, it's still providing an opportunity to meet new people through that social openness. Or, since we most often see the detriments play out, we could see a closing off to those that grab one's attention and not wanting to interact with them, that antisocial side of the line too. Gate 47, the collective abstract trait of realization and oppression in the Ajna Center, is in line 2, called ambition. It's bringing an environment of keeping busy in the present so that you don't have to deal with trying to make sense of the past. The question is what you're being busy with really of value? Your strategy and authority need to guide you. So here we see the aspect of line 2 that is the natural. Just let the making sense process run in the background and stay busy doing other things. Jupiter, with its quality of expansion, is in gate 53, the trait of beginnings and development in the root center. This is part of the abstract experiential circuitry and brings a pressure to begin a new experience and the potential to see that experience through to the end. This is a gate where if you start something, yeah, there can be a lot of friction there if you're not going to see it to the end. And if you know you're not going to see it to the end, the energy is really not going to be there to start. We start this cycle with it in line 4 called assuredness. Its exaltation says the ability to maintain the strength of one's individuality in complex and often awkward situations that ensure continued security and development. The pressure to maintain one's individuality in confused beginnings. As we talked about with our sun's position, starting something new is confusing because you never know exactly where it's going to lead. The rule of thumb for the abstract experiential circuitry is no expectations. But with this activation, there can be this knowing of this and no need to let the confusion prevent the starting when you enter into it out of strategy and authority. The detriment says the persistent difficulty with embarrassing or awkward situations where normal emotional reactions may prove detrimental. Individual pressure for beginnings that creates awkward and sometimes embarrassing situations. This is a line 4. Line 4s tend to be one track. So, for example, you could have people waiting for you, but out of this line 4 pressure, you just have to start whatever it is that comes in. I've got to start the laundry. I got to start writing this book chapter, whatever it is. It can be a little bit awkward, right? Everybody else is going like, where are you? What are you doing? Dear. Okay. Well, September 6th, Jupiter is going to move into line 5 for this trait, which is called assertion. Now, the exaltation of this trait is actually not present in the world right now because it's activated by Neptune. Because Neptune takes longer than a human lifetime to move through all the gates, we're at a place right now where there's no one alive that's still carrying this trait to keep it alive in the field. And we're decades away from Neptune reaching this gate and line again. So we can only look at the detriment here. And the detriment says an over assertiveness that rather than applied to maintaining support in the face of opposition and isolation may actually strengthen the opposing forces by its attitude, where the energy for beginnings attracts the very forces that can abort them. So you could say, I'm going this way, I'm starting this. And someone else stands up and says, no, that's not the way, it's this way. So it creates this struggle, the exaltation of balance development that can pull even those opposed along into starting and moving through an experience. It's not here, it's not in the field. We have unbalanced development here, where we're meeting the polarities that can slow development down and create this polarization. This is collective. How do we move forward as humanity? It's about the experience of humanity, and we see this play out all the time. How often are you in a struggle or an argument like this at the personal level, or we see it at the collective level, like between countries? No, we need to do it this way. No, we need to do it this way. We need to start this. No, we need to start that. Okay. Jupiter is expanding this pressure to start a new experience. When line 4 is activated, this ability to be okay with confusion at the start of an experience and needing to really get it started when you sense the pressure to do so could lead to awkward situations. Once we move into line 5, we're likely to see an emphasis on more opposed ways about how to start something or how to develop something. And it's not that one is right and one is wrong. It's just the struggle of working through this opposition that slows things down. All of the experiential circuitry is tied to the emotional center. So it's important to use your strategy and authority to know if there's really something for you to start or not. Saturn and Neptune continue to sit in gate 25, the trait of the spirit of the self, of innocence and universal love, or the polarity. This gate's in the G center, our center that's associated with love, identity, and direction in life. Neptune continues to sit in line 4 and Saturn's in line 2. So Neptune could be helping you to maintain your nature of true innocence regardless of circumstances, although Neptune can veil and unveil. So it could be veiling this for you. It could also be unveiling it. Can you sit within the void of the unknown within you and just be present to what is? Saturn, with its limitations and constraints and consequences, is in line 2 called the existentialist, which has a developmental theme that says devotion and dedication to the now. So it's bringing an energy to be present to the now in that place of innocence. But then if there's someone that recognizes that you have no motive, oh wow, you're so selfless, oh that's so wonderful, well now the ego can tend to get involved, wanting more of that recognition and moving you out of the present into planning for how to get that recognition again. Saturn may enhance that discipline to stay present, that's going to be even deepened by Uranus position. Now, Uranus brings unusualness, rebellion, kind of has a revolutionary nature. Sometimes it can sidetrack us. It's sitting in gate 20, the gate of the now. This is another individual trait in the throat center and probably the most existential gate in the body graph. Its voice is I am now. It's still in line 2 called the dogmatist, that one who expresses their opinions in a very strong, inflexible way, as if they're undeniable truths and are resistant to considering alternative perspectives. This brings a quality of expressing a very narrow perspective and not necessarily being able to see everything that's there in the now. Right. So someone's talking about like, it's like this, da 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 da. And you're going, but there's this and this and this, right? You're not seeing this bigger picture. Okay. So it can bring a tendency to only want to be with those that share your perspective, but it can also enhance specialized areas where you want that narrow perspective. However, if there's a lack of wisdom of experience here, there could be a very like, I know what's best for you kind of quality to it. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Pluto can bring us to our inner truth and rules the larger cosmic cycles. It's sitting in gate 60, the individual trait of limitation and acceptance. This is another one in the root center. And it's in line 6 called rigidity. It brings a frequency that can help you to accept the limitations that you bump up against and not try to push through them until you see that mutation, real change can happen. Or you may feel a real agitation. This is the detriment of this trait, even dropping into depression in being limited. There's a sense like you know that you have to accept the limitation that's there and not push through it until the timing's right. But I just want to break out of the old. I don't like it. Okay. Confusion and doubt and the limited perspective in the now that Uranus is bringing could have you jump into something new at the wrong time out of Jupiter's pressure to begin something new. Although the rigidity in Pluto's position to accept the limitations present unless breakthrough can be virtually guaranteed may provide a restraining effect there. Trying to find the point in what others are saying and in your own experiences will also be a theme this cycle. We still have 4 of the long-term transits sitting in line 2, which can bring an antisocial quality to it, especially in the first half of this cycle when the Sun Earth is moving through the more internalized first 3 lines. Remember that for any of these traits, if you don't have them in your own design, it's just pressure from the transit field. You can observe it playing out around you, you can learn from it, but whether there's actually something for you to do out of it is according to your own strategy and authority. So watch that it's not puppeting you. And that brings us to the end of the cosmic weather for this cycle. If you want to run your own chart, you can go to jovianarchive.com. If you're new to human design and you just want to understand the basics of the chart, what's the black and the red about, the different geometric shapes, kind of an overview of the lines, a bit of background on the human design system, feel free to grab my free Human Design Basics mini course. It's at margotgfraser.com/human design. All right. Don't be surprised if you have an extra busy mind this cycle, especially for those of you that have an undefined head or ajna centers. Confusion and suspicion about whether something's really working or not will be in the air. But there's also the potential for some real ahas, those realizations to come through. It's a great cycle for discussions about what's making sense or not in life. Just make sure that you're not making any decisions out of the mental processes and be aware of the pressure to start something new. If it really is time, according to your strategy and authority, great. These frequencies will be very supportive. But if not, just find another way to engage that energy. All right. Have a great cycle, and may you know, love, and live the magic of your true nature. Until next time, bye for now.